Alright, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this video. For today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a server, connecting to a domain and promoting that domain to a domain controller. Now, first things first, we want to have our virtual machines up and running. So I have my client side Windows 10 together with the Windows 2019 server. Now, from here, what we want to do is we want to log into both of our systems here. So I'm just going to log in to Windows Server Manager. Um, oops, there we go. Nice. And from startup, we should get access to something known as the Server Manager. Yes, so this is essentially where most, if not all, of our things in this specific video are going to occur. However, if you don't get this on startup or you already have your virtual machine booted up from a previous session, what you can do is just go to the Start menu, search up Server Manager, and that should be the first desktop app there. You can just click that and click Run. Now, from here, we want to create a domain. So how do we do that? We can do it right from this window here. Now, first things first, we want to create on Add Roles and Features, right? Then from here, what we want to do, this will give us a sort of pop-up, just generally saying some things we should do before we go ahead and make this domain here. We're going to click on next, and we're going to make sure role-based or feature-based installation is on. This is important. From here, we're going to click on next, and we're going to click on select server from our server pool and select our server itself. In this case, the server we would have made last video. Now, once we have the server selection and we make sure that it is selected, we're going to click next. And more specifically, we're going to be continuing, or we're going to be selecting a bunch of different server roles. Now, this is really important here as well. We are primarily going to be using the DNS server. So we are going to be using that. We're going to make sure this is checked here first and foremost. And then we're going to click Add Features. Then it should show a check mark by that box. And from here, yeah, that's primarily all that we would need. From here, what we want to do is we want to click on next here. And for features, we can add any features that we want to this network, but for our purposes or for our specific what's the word? For our specific uh use case, we want to make sure that at least Net Framework 4.7 is on. Now, excuse my hastiness here, but I would have forgotten to mention that we need to go into Active Directory Domain Services, and we want to make sure that is installed as well. Now, we just want to click on this and click Add Features here as well. Make sure that is ticked off, and let me just double check and make sure if we need any others. And looks like we don't. So, just in case, I will come back to this, but for the most part, you should just need these two features, and this one should be enabled by default. Now, features, like I mentioned before, this is completely up to you. What features you want in your server, what features you don't want in your server. In this case, I'm going to leave it as default so that from here, uh, it will function as good as it can, right? And specifically for our use case where we would just be connecting to a client and a server. Let's go down to DNS server now. And these are just some things to note. Uh, of course, it gives us a general definition here, which is great. And things to note, of course, really important here as well, uh, especially the Active Directory domain services requires a DNS server to be installed on the network. If you are installing a domain controller, you can also install the DNS server role using the Active Directory Domain Services installation wizard by selecting the Active Directory Domain Services role. And that's exactly what we would have done in the previous server rules management or the server rules section. Yeah, so from here, we want to just click next. Yeah, so I'm gonna click next here. Where is it? There we go. And then from here, we have ADDS, which is Active Directory Domain Service. And of course, if we want to learn more about it or learn more about any of these, we can click on the hyperlinks and just make sure, we're doing the correct thing or whatever the case may be. In my case here, I know that I'm doing the correct thing, so I'm just going to click next. And we have one last confirmation screen before we look to install. Now, we are given this option to restart the server automatically if required. And for the purpose of this assignment and the purpose for this, we won't be doing this. So I'm just going to skip this, make sure this box is unchecked. Double check and make sure everything here is as what we should expect based on what we selected before. So we should have the Active Directory domain, DNS server, the GPM, remote server administrator tools, stuff like that. And then from here, we're just going to click on install. So it's going to start the installation here for now. And yeah, it may take a bit, but it surely will not really take that long. So I'm just going to pause the video here for now. After this, the server should restart automatically. And I should see you back here with a fresh VM with Windows Server uh, and our specific DNS server. Okay, so my apologies here. It did not in fact restart. I guess I was thinking of another step here. But the next thing that we want to do from here is we want to click on promote this server to a domain controller. It should open up another wizard here. There we go. And now it's asking us for a domain controller to an existing domain. Now, for this option, we want to click on add a new forest, right? And it's specifically asking us for a root domain name. Now, it doesn't really matter what you put in this specific root domain. However, it's important that you remember what you put in here. So just for the sake of this video, I'm going to just put just my name and the first letter of my last name, .com. It could be .local as well, but for the most part, I'm just going to go with .com. Then I'm going to press next here. From here, we're just going to wait for it to load for a bit, and hopefully it can, well, work on this relatively fast. I guess just give it some time here, and I guess I'll see you back. Just give me 1 second. And okay, well, nevertheless, it looks like it loaded perfectly fine as I was about to pause the video. So looks like we have the forest functional level and the domain functional level here, and we can see that it's set to 2016. 2016 should be fine, especially for our use case in terms of this class, because I assume most of us are going to be using 2016 anyway. So this should be fine here. Specify domain controller capabilities. So of course we want the domain name system, we want the global catalog, and I'm actually going to leave read only domain controller ticked off because we're going to be mainly dealing with stuff like home folders and stuff like that in the future. So of course it would be quite necessary for us to leave this unchecked because yeah. Now I am this is what's the word? This is of course a very bad practice, but just so that I don't forget, and quite frankly, I don't really uh necessarily care about these VMs that much. I will make a password here, and hopefully it meets required um the required criteria. Is it? Okay, that's weird. All right. Nevertheless, this is the DR or DSRM password, and the password that I would have set for this is the same as my as the same as this one here. So I'll just save this in a Word document or here for now, just so that in the future when I do other stuff with this, it shouldn't, or I shouldn't forget the password. Hold on, because authority parent zone couldn't be found. Let's go back here just to make sure. And yeah, from here, what I can see is that we have the password, we have the DSRM, sorry. Um, okay, that's a bit weird. Let me see. Next, delegation. If you're installing, if you're integrating, hold on. Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Cool. So next, we want to click on, we want to make sure, sorry, that this is unchecked, right? Create DNS delegation. Now, delegation is essentially where it's not necessary for this class specifically, right? So we're going to click on next, and it should verify the NetBIOS name assigned to the domain and change it if necessary. So the domain name, what we entered before was, in this case, yeah, Anishke, right, .com, and this would be the actual name itself. So I'm fine with this being the name here. I'm just going to click next. And next, it should take us to our paths here, and paths is essentially where everything is going to be stored. So we want to be able to access our database folder, our log file folder, and our S system vol folder. Now, I'm actually going to change this one here because let me on Windows NTDS. Okay, because I like to have my logs in a separate folder. NDTS. Where is that folder? Well, I guess it should create it, but that's a bit weird. I guess for now. Oh wait, I guess I can just change it here. So I'll just create a folder in NDTS called logs, and this will be the log file folder. Yeah, so I'll just click on next here for now, and yeah, let me click on next here. And of course, we just want to review our selections just to make sure that we would have done everything correctly. So, we want to configure this. The new domain name is anishk.com. Forest name, that's great. NetBIOS name will be anishk. That's also great. Uh, Forest function, yep, this is fine. Additional, yes, yes, that's correct. Log files, correct. Password of the new domain address should be seen. Password for the local. Okay, cool. That's great. And right, so now we can just click on next, and we should give it a bit of time here just so that it verifies everything. Essentially, the prerequisites for the domain controller. And from here, oh, whoops, looks like my client went to sleep there. Um, but yeah, we're just gonna give it some time, let it verify, and then from here we can install. So I'll pause the video here for now. And from here, we should see each other back when this is finished getting those prerequisites. All right, cool. So we would have made it back, and our server, we can see that it says all prerequisite checks passed successfully. You want to click install to begin the installation. Yeah, so yeah, this is fine. These errors here are what to be expected. And the most important part is that we have the prerequisites. So we can install. And we want to give it some time, of course, because this installation may take a bit. So while this is working on the installation, now it should restart, right after this installation is finished. It will prompt you to log in. Remember, the password that we used in the forest would be sort of the same as the login for the admin account. And we should see some changes here, like specifically, we will see the domain or the username for the administrator account change. So that's something you want to keep in mind as well. That's completely normal. But while this is installing, uh, I'm just gonna pause the video here for now and give it some time to install, restart, and I'll see you all back here at the Windows login screen. Okay, cool. So my system would have just restarted there, or in this case, the Windows Server 2019 would have just restarted. And from here, like I mentioned before, this is perfectly normal. And we want to just make sure that the login that we chose previously works. So it's going to give it some time here to actually boot. And yeah, we should see our Windows login page like usual. And yeah, that should really be about it. Yeah, so I'm just waiting for this to load. Should take a bit longer than usual because of that server we would have done. And yeah, you can see that it's applying those computer settings. Unfortunately, I can't see the logs here, uh, like I would on Linux. But all the information that we need to know now is that it's applying computer settings. So I'm assuming it's just making sure that those settings we would have made or the changes that we would have made in the actual server manager are being applied right now on a system based level. And from here, the computer settings, well, they should enable our system to work, or the DNS server to actually work uh, in terms of the server client relationship. So I'm just going to give it a second here just so that it loads up, and I will see you all at that login screen. Okay, cool. So it looks like we are back on the login screen here. And from here, what we want to do is we want to insert or input keyboard, Control Alt Delete. And you can see that the administrator name did change here, which is fine. And we're just going to log in like we usually would. And from here, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be just making sure our server is actually here. So here's the window. Let's scroll down. And you can see that we have our ADDS server. So our Active Directory domain server, which is great. We have DNS, we have the file storage, and we have a local server. And of course, all the servers here. Now, from here, what we want to do, we made sure that everything was up to mark with regard to the server manager. From here, we just want to access our PC settings. So in this case, I'm just going to close out of this here for now, or minimize it. Let's just minimize it for now. Open up File Explorer, go to this PC, right click, go to Properties, go to Change Settings, so the computer name, domain, and workgroup settings. I'm going to change these. And it'll open up this window here. I'm going to click on Change. Okay. And we're going to change this. We can see. Actually, no, we're not going to change this. Slow. Uh, what we happens here is that we want to make sure that the domain or this server is a member of the domain aneeshk.com. Now, also really important here, right? We're gonna go now to the unidentified network or the network icon on our taskbar. We're gonna click on Open Network and Internet Settings, and we are essentially gonna be going back to just make sure that our settings are the same from our previous video. So we're going to go to Network and Sharing Center. Going to go to Ethernet, Properties, and just make sure, yeah, IPv4 is still enabled. Great. And we're also going to make sure that Windows and file sharing, or specifically file sharing in terms of our server, is active. There we go. So from here, we're just going to make sure everything is turned on. Turn on. And for all networks, we want to turn on. And for domain, we also want to turn on here. This is really important. This one specifically, we want to make sure this is on. Save changes. And yeah, we should be good to go for the most part on our server side of things. So let me just double check my notes and make sure. Okay. So from here, this should be the last thing that we need to do in terms of the um, client. Oh, sorry, the server. Switch over to the client now. First and foremost, we're going to go to our network settings like we did before. Going to go to network sharing center. Yeah. Again, we want to make sure that, for example, everything here is turned on. Uh, guest and domain, great. Cool. Close. Cancel. Right. Nice. Now, specifically, we want to make sure that our domain is added to the client-side computer itself. So I'm just going to close out some of this here as well on the client side. Oh, sorry, on the domain side. And yeah, so we're going to be just accessing uh, the file explorer, going to this PC properties. From here, what we're going to be doing is going into, where's the setting? Um, there it is. Rename this PC. So we want to go to, where is it here? Change. And we're going to go to more. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Before we go into that, we want to go into domain. For some reason, that is not on for whatever reason. Uh, Give me 1 second. Let me try to troubleshoot this very quickly. Okay, so the issue that I was having was as a result of the addition of Windows for the client side I would have chosen. Unfortunately for Windows 10 Home and anything below that, uh, there is no way to connect to a domain. So I'm just upgrading to Pro here very quickly just so that, well, we can connect to this domain. And from here, we should be able to get our server up and running. I'm just going to give Windows some time just to upgrade and do the Pro stuff. And from there, we should see each other back at the domain screen that we were on before. Okay, so great. We are back with regard to the setup. Now, I would have upgraded to Windows 10 Enterprise, but Windows 10 Pro also works as well. So from here, we're going to uncheck the work group. I'm going to go to domain. I'm going to type in the name of our domain. Specifically, in my case, it's called aneeshk.com. So I'm just going to press OK. Enter the domain. Let me just double check and make sure. Okay, maybe there we go. Okay. Uh, Give me a second. Let me troubleshoot this again. All right, back from troubleshooting here and restarting my computer. So what would have happened here is that I would have disconnected the host-only adapter from my virtual machine, which is what would have caused the issue. So we're back on the original domain here. I'm just going to type in the domain name. In this case, I just have the local server with the domain name here. I'm just going to type in that same thing. .com. Going to press OK here. And looks like we're entering a username. So in this case, the default one would be the username of the actual computer. And the password would just be the password that we set for the domain. And let's see. Okay, so the username and password is incorrect. Me. Okay. Uh, Hopefully that is it. Okay, there we go. So I guess I may have mistyped it the first time. Cool. So right now we are in the anishk.com domain, which is oh well, we would need to restart our computer before doing anything. Looks like we'll get another prompt here. Cool. So We'll close all of these here for now, and I'm just gonna restart this virtual machine, and we can check out the domain specifically. We can just make sure that everything is working, and of course, everything does show that we are in the domain here. So I'm gonna pause, let the computer reset or restart, and yeah, it should be not too long from now. All right, so cool. We are logging back into our Windows 10 clients. Uh, yeah, it's taking a bit longer. There we go. Now we can see here, based on our network settings, we can see if we hover over the network icon, we can see that even though we have no network access, we are now connected to a network, which is uh, anishk.com. In this case, the domain that is, right? If we want, we can also check the, where is it? Right. Can also check the domain properties just so that we can see. Uh, yeah, so just to make sure that we are in the domain. Cool, we are in that domain there. And yeah, let me just go to network and internet sharing. That is over here. We'll go to Ethernet properties. Where is it? Hold on. Details. We have our IP addresses and stuff like that here. IPv4 address. And I'm just looking for the, there we go, this one. Cool. So we can see that based on this here, or based on the details, I guess, right, there we go. Based on the details here, based on our Ethernet adapter, we can see that there is the domain anishk.com, which is exactly what we have for our server. Well, that is all I have for you today. This has been setting up a domain, and more specifically connecting a computer or a client-side computer to a domain. I hope you learned something from this video. As always, you can leave your comments down below and I'll try to check it out. But we would have had a couple of mishaps, but nothing that we couldn't overcome. Some important things to note, just to summarize, is that you would need either Windows 10 Pro or Windows 11 Pro and above to connect to a domain. Normal users, in this case the Home Edition, cannot connect to this domain. So just make sure it is Windows 10 Pro or Windows 10 Enterprise, or Windows 10 Pro, Windows 11 Pro, Windows 11 Enterprise. In this case, I have the Enterprise version running here on the client side. And also another thing here is to make sure that you know your passwords, your username, in this case, the username being the username for your account on your computer, the password in which you set for the domain, and the actual domain name itself. So in this case, arishk.com. But yeah, that is how you successfully start up a domain, create a domain, and connect that client side computer, in this case the Windows 10 installation, to the domain. So I hope you all enjoyed and learned something. But for the most part, just leave your comments down below or leave your questions down below. I'll try my best to answer. But that'll be it for today. So I guess I will see you all in the next video. So good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And I will see you in the next video.